I right away realized that David knew what he was doing, that he was not new at this. He certainly had experience. And although in some ways David's office is a smaller law firm, small firms that know what they're doing know who to call on. So immediately his staff, even before I talked to David, had contacted some retired State Highway Patrol people that they used to do accident investigation. And I realized right away, okay, I never would have thought about that. That's good. And it turned out to be good. There's a very delicate back and forth between you and the attorney. And I always felt that David listened to me and treated me as a partner. He always had advice for me, but he also was willing to listen to what I had to say. And I think that's a delicate balance. I definitely felt included in the process working with David. Yeah, it was a partnership. He looked to me because honestly, you know, your attorney has to listen to you. He wasn't there. He didn't know exactly, but then I have to listen to David. And I'll say one thing. When it comes to working with any professional, such as a lawyer, you know, you have to look to their experience. You have to look at their years of education or whatever, but you also have to get a gut feeling for their judgment. And I thought David's judgment was correct. A couple of decisions that he really felt strongly about turned out to be very, very good. You need a skilled person that knows when to quit and when to push a little harder and when to say, no, don't take that. And I'm like, really? Working with David over the years, I've always felt that I was able to approach David. I mean, David has a busy schedule. I'm not talking about I could drop in anytime I wanted, but I always felt that David was open to hear what I said and made me feel like everything I had to say was important. So maybe it didn't really come into play immediately, but go ahead, tell me about it. You know, he wanted to hear the information. And honestly, whether it's your doctor or, you know, your lawyer or some politician, often today we get the feeling that nobody wants to hear what I have to say. I always felt like David at least wanted to hear what I had to say and was going to factor it in. And I always felt good about that. David has a network of resources that he uses and he has access to. So I always felt like I wasn't limited by that. As a matter of fact, isn't that the choice? Do you get more personal attention to a small firm than you do a large firm? And what do you give up to give that attention? I don't think we gave up anything. Even though David's a small firm, we did, I think, I don't know, you'd have to ask David, but like a year's search to find a technical witness that we really had to have to help us stand up against this multinational corporation. And we did find somebody. And David's instincts were not the same as mine. David's instincts were that it would be good to find someone who had a lot of history of defending someone like the people that we were suing. And it turned out to be brilliant, because when we did find that person, he was not at first willing to just jump on our side. But after we flew out there, we met with him, we presented our case to him, and when he couldn't answer the question, well, if it didn't happen this way, how did it happen? He became convinced and joined our side of the case. And that was a very brilliant stroke and well worth the amount of time it took to find that perfect witness.
He always made himself available, and really having that one-on-one experience with him, knowing exactly who's handling it, knowing exactly where we stood in the case. Working with David, I felt cared for, I felt regarded. He was very respectful, available, human. You know, I would recommend him and have already recommended him. I think he's really top-notch.
He was always just focusing mainly on Joan and her feelings in the fact that somebody had done something terrible to her, and we're going to do everything we possibly can to set that as straight as we can.